Thank you. The tone in the last few days has been very respectful between the White House and McCarthy's team. You just said a few moments ago that McCarthy's team is working in good faith. But this morning you had House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries slamming MAGA Republicans for dangerous default gamesmanship. You had Pete Aguilar saying McCarthy's beholden to the most extreme members of his party. So is House Democratic leadership undermining the work of the administration right now?
Good question.
Not at all. We are aligned with them, with the leadership on both the House and the Senate, and that continues. And we have been aligned with them for the past several months.
Does Jeffries speak for the party here?
I believe he's the leader of the Democratic caucus on the House, so I would presume that is a yes.
So it just seems like there's a bit of a divide between the rhetoric that he's using and the rhetoric we're hearing out of the White House.
Look, I think multiple things could happen at the same time. Clearly, Leader Jeffries is a partner in this, has been a partner as well as Leader Schumer. That will continue, and I'll just leave it there. I'm going to go to the
discharge petition. One more. Is that at all a signal that House Democrats doubt the president's ability to lead the country to a solution here?
Nice.
Well, that's an extreme analysis or final kind of analysis there. I would say if you look at what the president has done the last 2 years and the leadership that he has shown in passing historic pieces of legislation, bringing the Democrats together in passing in the Inflation Reduction Act, when he brought the Democrats together to pass his first legislation, which is the American Rescue Plan, that helped get the economy back on its feet. That is a president that has led. That is a president that has continued to lead. You look at the economy has been able to create 12.7 million jobs. It's been able to see an unemployment rate at one of the lowest that we have seen in modern time. And that's going to continue if we continue to do the work of the American people, get this budget negotiation done. And here, that's at stake. The work that this president has done, that is what's at stake right now.
The discharge petition, that would be like an end run around what the president is doing.
Absolutely not. Look, I would refer you to Congress on their processes and what they're trying to do in Congress. But to say or suggest the president's leadership is in question, I think is completely false.
Oh, hell no!
I disagree with that premise and certainly with that question, because if you look at the last 2 years, if you look at what Democrats have been able to get done with the leadership of this president, that is the complete opposite of what you just laid out. Go ahead, April.
Today I asked the president if COVID was still a national emergency, and he said it's a necessity to deal with to make sure it doesn't become one. His answer would suggest that perhaps it's not a national emergency right now. So is it fair to call it a national emergency under the HEROES Act to justify student loan cancellation?
Good question. You are a good question.
So the student loan cancellation, first and foremost, that was decided by the appropriate agencies. That was the tool that we were going to use to make sure that we give relief to Americans that need it. We should step back for a second and understand why the president took that action when it comes to the student loan. When he came into the office, clearly there were Americans who were having a hard time dealing with the economic situation that the pandemic was causing, right? And we had the former administration who mishandled the COVID, the reaction to COVID, how we would move forward out of COVID. The last administration bungled that, really. And so the president took action and made sure that people were getting shots in arms.
Okay.
And we were moving to a place where things could open, schools could open, businesses could open. And so at the same time, as the president is thinking through how getting out of this phase, that phase of the pandemic, there's the student loans. There are people who who are really squeezed by the pandemic. And so he wanted to make sure that when we lift up the pause, that we gave people a little bit more breathing room. And that is where the student debt relief comes from. And we understand once that pause is lifted, there's still going to be people who are going to have a difficult time. And so just because we're in a different phase of the pandemic, as the president has said, COVID is still a problem. And so that's how we came to that decision to move forward with our assessment on how we're going to provide that student relief to middle-class Americans. And also, let's not forget, 90% of borrowers who are going to be receiving this debt relief are making less than $75,000 a year. And so all of that matters when you're lifting up something and when you're lifting up a pause that has been lifted for about 3 years, knowing that the pandemic has been a problem, knowing that COVID is continuing to be a problem, knowing what the American people, middle-class families have had to go through, the president was trying to making sure that he didn't leave anyone behind and making sure that he didn't forget those middle-class families.
I hear what you're saying on all that. I guess my question is there another, perhaps a better mechanism to do that? Because the whole program is caught up now in litigation, and a lot of this legal argument is that it can't be a national emergency because of actions that the administration has taken elsewhere. So I wonder...
So I actually disagree with you.
Oh, come on!
What is happening is there are opponents out there of the student loan debt relief who do not want to give middle-class family a little bit more breathing room. There are opponents out there, many of them are Republicans, who do not want us to make sure that those 90% of Americans who are making $75,000 or less are getting that actual benefit to be able to put money down on a house, to be able to start a family. They are upset that we are trying to help those very, very Americans. So that is what is happening. This is pure politics that we're seeing out there. It is not, and the way the president sees this is not partisan.
On the national emergency front then, what is the criteria the country would have to meet for it not to be a national emergency, or is that even a goal?
So here's the thing, we cannot forget that COVID is still a problem. We just had Dr. Jacques here talking to all of you. He wanted to be here and we wanted him to be to all of you because you guys communicate with the American people. And we want the American people to know that there is a new vaccine out there and they need to get that shot in the arm because that new vaccine is going to help them ahead of the winter months. So clearly, COVID is still a problem. We're trying to communicate very clearly with the American people how important it is to continue to get that vaccine. So you have the COVID response director here. You have the president who, in front of the American people, took his shot to send a message. So again, we are still dealing with COVID. We're trying to do everything that we can to make sure that it continues to not be a disruptor, right? And the reason that it's not a disruptor is because of the work that this president has done in the last 20 months, okay?
See where I count it all, confident in the water, see the engine with wind and power. See what the light, a screen of shame, forever in her image. Oh, she got a crowd of confidence in her. With every step, she come and a ruler of her, denting it in her hand. Through challenge, she ran from light, green in the river of light. See our way, greater goes I into that next night. A big corner prop, a growling line. Ooh, ooh, confident in the world of dark. See the ancient with rain and flower. See what the light, a screen of shame forever in her dream. Oh, she got a glow of confidence in her, a ring of reason. We stay very dead. She come and a ruler of her, dancing it in her hand. No challenge, she grand from me. Green in the river of light. See our way greater goes in the darkness night. A beacon of hope, a glowing light.